Okay, what did I learn today? Well, there's a new dump of Epstein files, and it's pretty clear that Trump is a criminal pedophile that is using the FBI to undermine justice. To undermine justice for the victims. The Department of Justice of the United States is being manipulated by a criminal pedophile to cover up the facts of the matter, any semblance of justice for the victims in the matter. That's been confirmed today. So congratulations, America, for having a criminal pedophile president that is the most grotesque kind of pedophile anybody could imagine. Today, I got to see videos of white middle-class suburban women encircling with cameras a thuggish, brutish gang of ICE individuals getting pepper sprayed in the face. And I thought, it's not a good look, America, when your goons are pepper spraying suburban moms in the face. Boy, that's not going to go over well come election time. We can start siphoning off entire electoral demographics from the Republican ticket at this point. Republicans over the next 6 months are going to start becoming aware of what could potentially happen in the midterm elections to end this gross abuse of office from the executive on down that is corrupting American departments as we speak. I watched a young Mexican mother get hauled off by ICE, calling on a phone, trying to get somebody to come take care of her kids because her kids were inside the house and mom was about to be hauled off to some kind of ICE concentration camp. It's not a good look, America. If you're a Republican, you're about to have your asses handed to you. That's the best case scenario. I've had enough Democrats reaching out to say, send money, send money, send money. Please send money. Send money. Enough with the send money. The United States of America does not have a future as a constitutional democratic republic. At this point, the damage has been done. The executive office is demoralizing and humiliating and dehumanizing the federal workforce, including members of DHS and Department of Justice, the FBI, that maybe have good intentions to honor their oath to the Constitution, but are now facing tough decisions. Listen, if that's you and you're listening to me right now, you need to arrest your leaders. You need to arrest your leaders. Because what we are witnessing is the wholesale dismantling of the constitutional democratic republic of the United States of America. What to do about it? Well, if there's any hope left to restore constitutional due process, Democrats need to stop asking for money. You need to start offering solutions. Democrats, you need to stop asking for money. You need to stop outlining your solutions. I've already outlined some solutions. I'm not running for office, but if you want me to run for office, contact El Paso County Democrats. First thing we need to do is get money out of politics. Okay, we're ending this political action committee thing. No private money to fund candidates. It's no longer going to take millions upon millions of dollars to get candidates elected. All of that goes away. We have a special bureau that oversees perhaps the distribution of federal funding for fair and equitable elections in the United States. That's number one, because that's the problem that got us to this point where American elections can be bought by the wealthiest, where somebody like Elon Musk, who was also on Epstein Island, somebody like Elon Musk can sit there and even think that he has money to spend to influence the American election so he can get representatives beneficial to his cause, like somebody that might sweep under the rug any criminal evidence against him. All right, so take money out of elections. That's number one. Number two, look, the Trump administration needs to be impeached. Trump administration needs to be impeached. Members of the Department of Justice, members of the Department of Homeland Security, members of ICE, members of the FBI that have engaged in the cover-ups of crimes. These individuals that have abetted by the attacks on constitutional due process, the demoralization and dehumanization of federal civil service workers and the American electorate. They need to be tried and prosecuted. The problem is this is going to take a level of prosecutorial organization that is going to be 10 times bigger in magnitude than the January 6th prosecution. So it's going to be a monumental step. You need the best and brightest in prosecutorial positions. Look, you can use AI to gather data, to sort data. Have that on your battle plan, since Elon Musk and his minions will use AI to effectively dismantle federal regulations. We put that on the block. So two, Trump administration and anybody associated in these federal departments with the attacks on constitutional due process, they need to be tried and prosecuted. Three, look, we need to end the war on drugs. It's time, because the war on drugs was a lie to begin with in 1970. It was a fabricated prosecution of American citizens that targeted especially racially marginalized citizens. It's a lie. The plants should not be criminalized, and they are. And because a lot of these plants that have been used by humans for thousands upon thousands of years are criminalized, we now have synthetic and refined products coming over the borders, like fentanyl, like cocaine, that are clearly weaponized drugs to get society addicted. And look, the British did it to the Chinese in the Opium Wars. There are two Opium Wars fought. The CIA smuggled crack cocaine into urban neighborhoods to undermine civil rights movements, the war on drugs to begin with. So that needs to end. You end it by legalizing the plants, and then you can control and regulate the really dangerous substances like fentanyl, cocaine. But the plants need to be legalized. This needs to be done. It needs to be communicated, because the war on drugs has been used to pit police against citizens for decades. Being used for all manner of excuses to destabilize nations south of the U.S. border, to increase waves of immigration and refugees. So many of the people swept up in these ICE raids, these dehumanizing and constitutionally illegal ICE raids, are refugees seeking asylum in the United States from civil instability in their nations south of the U.S. border, where drug cartel violence means that your children may not have a future living on this planet. That's happening in the name of the war on drugs. It's a lie. It needs to be reformed. That's three. Look, the federal deficit is going to sink the entire American dream. What's left of it, the federal deficit, debt and deficit, is eventually going to sink it. That needs to be corrected. Look, Democrats, if you put forward a solid plan to address this, then you can swing some Republicans over, because God knows Republicans are going to have one hell of a stench on their hands after what this administration is doing. So what does that mean? Look, you tax billionaires. You tax them more. Okay, tax them more. Doesn't need to be more than 50%. Maybe it's in a range between 40 and 50%. But you need to tax billionaires, because they're stealing our government, and they're taking the promise of the Constitution away from our children. They're using their money to influence the American democracy. I've outlined ways that we can correct that. Another way, a fourth way, is to tax these billionaires and put the taxes raised, the revenue raised, towards catching up with our debt and deficit before that is out of reach and our money begins losing value at a rapid rate, because that's soon to happen. You can tax social media companies, have special taxes for social media and AI companies, because social media and AI companies are now, look, Amazon, you go down the list, Amazon, Target, there's a bunch of companies right now that are laying off employees because AI systems can do the number juggling better and faster. It was inevitable. It was going to happen. But over the next 5 years, we're bound to see hundreds of thousands of job layoffs due to AI replacement. We went through this in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was president. The job layoffs, the moving overseas, Reagan promoting trade benefits that look good on paper, but result in effectively companies taking jobs like automobile manufacturing overseas. And then what happened for the 30 years since Reagan, for the 3.5 decades since Reagan, is Republicans have bitched nonstop about jobs leaving overseas. There's no more jobs. And every goddamn Republican steps into office and says, I'm going to bring you more jobs. And they don't. They don't. So that needs to be excused. We tax social media companies that matriculate poison in our social networks, and tax the AI companies that will replace jobs. This is so that if this country still exists 40 years from now, Republicans aren't still bitching about the loss of jobs that happens under Republican presidents. There's a few things we can do. An addendum to that last one is we need an online Bill of Rights that says basically all your online data is your property. It's your property and nobody can track it. Nobody can collect it. Nobody can exchange or profit for it unless you agree and you are equitably compensated for that data. This means Facebook's paying you every month, instead of you just screen scrolling through Facebook, and Facebook makes millions upon millions and then affects your elections and kisses up to your criminal pedophile presidents. So once again, here are some solutions that we can do. An online Bill of Rights means that your online data is your private property and it can't be taken from you without your consent, under the threat of punitive laws, fines, whatever, and you get compensated for it. Every time somebody sells your online data, you are financially compensated for that transaction. An online Bill of Rights, we need that. If there is a future for this country, here's 5 things that I've outlined that we need to fight for leading up to the midterm elections, because what Trump's FBI raided offices in Atlanta and seized electoral data. Look, Trump is coming after the voter rolls. He's going to harass the electoral bureaus of every state in the next 8 months, 10 months in the lead up to the November midterm elections. He's going to try to put as much doubt into the American electoral system as possible. He's going to try to suspend elections in every which way that he can through a variety of means. He's outlining it. If you pay attention, he's outlining what he's going to try to do. Now, electorals are organized by each state. Each state is responsible for their own electoral process. But this doesn't mean that state officials can't be harassed. It doesn't mean that conspiracy theories might matriculate across social media waves that would create doubt in the minds of voters. Any kind of disenfranchisement works for Trump. Any kind of promotion of fear. And again, he's got these domestic terrorist organizations called ICE that are on standby to intimidate voters. All of that is getting ready to come. Gotta fight through it, whatever it takes. We gotta fight through it, whatever it takes. I've outlined answers. Watch this if you need to be reminded. Thanks for watching. Peace out.